Okay, we are officially live.
We did it. No.
Yay. Okay. Well, I think it's just you and I in here. Well, welcome everybody, future viewers. Thank you for joining me. I am Amanda, the author, and I am here with the lovely, the wonderful, the talented Samara Hill from Fifth House Collective. She's co-owner, she's co-host, she's marketing magic with Fifth House Collective stuff. And she took a chance on this indie author by featuring my book, To a Stair with Love, in last year's book box. And To Ilaris and Desperation is in this month's book box. So we're here to talk about my series and also to give y'all some more insight into Fifth House Collective so you can support this wonderful Black-owned, woman-owned business. So let's get started.
Yes. Thank you so much for that intro. That was amazing.
Hey, I'm like almost the way through this Coca-Cola, so.
Oh, see, I should have gotten some sugar in me too because I was like, whoa. But you know what? I'm gonna channel my inner Leo and like use your energy and then like pump myself up even more. Because that's what I'm good at. All right. So should we get into your side first? I'm so excited
Sure.
for questions. I have questions. But first, for people who might just be like tuning in from my side and just for the first time, can you please like, introduce yourself?
Sure. So I'm Amanda Ross. I am an indie author. I have so far published 2 books in my Which Kind series, To a Stair with Love and To Ilaris and Desperation. I've also co-published the anthology Girls of Might and Magic with several other indie authors. My book series is a modern fantasy series that follows a black witch named Mercury as he tries to fight for equality for his people amidst a landscape of a vampiric president, political machinations from vampires and witches, annoying humans, interesting friendships, and all of that.
Yeah, that and so much more. Because
And more. It's not
I'm
just that.
like I love it. Like when I read your book, I want to know I don't even know how I found you. I think I was just going through like Kindle Unlimited because I think by the time you reached out to me, I was like I read your book. I'm reading it now, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just found it. I was like witches. First of all, witches are my jam. Okay. So I was like, let me do this. Cool. So I read it and I read it in a day. I flew through To a Stair with Love in a day. And I was like, this needs to go in the box. When can I get you in the box? And it really worked out because even like when myself and my partner go out to do like vending events, people gravitate towards your book, right? Because it's very like social justice, racial justice, like political minded, and a lot of people in Detroit are their way. And so they see themselves in your book, which is amazing. I love the way like people connect to your story. But my question is, what inspired you to write the Witch Kind series? I don't think I've ever asked you that.
Oh, well, it's multifaceted. I think first and foremost, it would be not a reach to say that the 2016 election is one of the most like direct, I guess, directly responsible things for me. If that makes any sense. For me to write this, that I was really like working out my feelings about having Trump in office, all the BS that was bringing, and I was really just, how can I reconcile my feelings? I'm also somebody who's always loved witches. I've always loved vampires, but I also didn't see like black and brown witches in a lot of fiction at the time that I was starting to write. And I'm so thankful that there's kind of this a bit of a like renaissance right now, if you will, where we're having a lot more like black and brown and other authors writing witches into their stories and not just writing white witches.
Right.
So I knew I wanted to write a story with black witches, and it all kind of came together. I outlined it in one day, and then I just started writing it. It all just came together.
That's that's amazing. And it's so funny you mentioned like, yeah, we don't have enough black and brown or like just people of color, witches, and vampires. I'm looking at you, Vampire Diaries. Um, as much as I love that show, I always was like, where's the representation? We got one.
Right.
So I was super happy to come upon like your series. So in your book, we said it before, you address like social issues through magical characters. So any particular route why you like chose to, like any particular reason why you chose to go that route, instead of building an entirely new world with like new or different issues? So you stuck to the real world basically.
Yeah.
Why?
So I love modern fantasy, contemporary, urban, whatever we want to call it. That's always been the kind of fantasy I gravitate to more. I do enjoy an epic thing every now and then again, but for me, I like the idea of having magic in the real world, and it's either being hidden or it just being out in the open and it being commonplace. So I knew that I wanted to set this in the real world, and I also knew that if I was going to have Black witches, there had to be at least some kind of conversation around race. I didn't want it to dominate. I didn't want it to be the only thing that the book was about, because obviously we're more than our struggle, but I knew that I wanted to focus on that. And then with the election and everything that happened, it just kind of fits, and the allegory kind of flowed from there.
Yeah, definitely. I appreciate the real world. And I'm one of those people who, like me, I enjoy all types of fantasy, but like urban fantasy and portal fantasy are my like particular like tropes that I really like. Like I love the idea of opening my closet and there's like a portal into another world, or just like magic being hidden around like any corner. Kind of like I think that's what like the Harry Potter series was really good at, was like the life was ordinary for Harry, but then suddenly you like tap on a brick somewhere and it's like magic. And so I think I carried that from like my childhood loving that series into like my adult fantasy series that I like. And I think you do that so well.
Thank you.
So really quick, this was a challenge for you, right?
Okay.
In 15 words, in 15 words or less, can you give us a non-spoiler recap of To Astera with Love?
15 words?
15 words or less. I think this is just for fun.
All right, I'm gonna put my hands up.
Okay.
When a witch named Mercury. See, I can't do it. I'm like already using 5 words here.
Already have 5 words. Okay.
I'll try to do as streamlined as possible.
Okay.
But a recap. America 2022. Drugs are legal. Witches are real. A vampire is president. A young witch named Mercury, college-aged witch named Mercury, just wants to live his life, but after going to a party and making a terrible mistake, he must lead his friends to safety, to the safety of Astera, a annual gathering of all witch kind. Along the way, they battle vampire cops, aggressive humans, evil witches, and each other as they try to make it to safety.
Yeah, I love
that. Way more than 15 words, but
it's a really good recap. I like that. Yeah. But since we're talking about that, so to Ilaris in Desperation, now we're going to switch gears. So to Ilaris in Desperation, which is the second book in your Witch Kind series, we're picking up basically where you left off in the first book.
Right.
And we're still following Mercury and his crew, whom I love. But things have changed since Astera, right? So can you give us like a sneak peek into like any new developments we can look forward to in To Ilaris with Desperation?
Yeah, so as you said, it takes place pretty quickly. I mean, it's about 2 months or so after Astera. All the events in Astera take place in March, and the things happening in this book start at the end of May and go into June. And essentially the crew they're still friends, they're still hanging out, but they're dealing with the aftermath of the things that happened at Astera. A law has been passed called the Identity Act, where witches now have to wear dog tags identifying them and letting people know that they're witches. And practicing magic is now illegal in public. And so we catch up with the crew as they are about to go get these tags at a very DMV like place to go. And Mercury wanting to start protesting it and start a movement just to address some of these inequalities, like the Identity Act and some of the other things that the Witches Council, the governing body for all witches, is trying to do. We also see a lot more magic in this book. There's more ritual. You find out what happens if a witch ends up getting their power stripped, and more in the second book.
Yeah. And I would like to say, like, the dog tag part gave me Holocaust vibes. Like, I was worried when I started. I was like, oh man, they're in danger. Hold up. So that was like the first inkling with like what was going on with like Mercury and Sloane and Ellis and everybody. And so like the magic system, I feel like, okay, so I do want to get in the magic system, but first I will say like To A Star With Love, I felt like it was centered around like escaping to a witch haven, right? And now To Ilaris and Desperation is kind of centered around like the protesting of a haven, so to speak. Like, was that a conscious decision on your part? Like how?
Yeah, I wanted to do that, and I wanted to make it where, so in the book, so Astera is a witch holiday, and so is Ilaris. And I did that on purpose. I wanted them both to be like, as though you're looking forward to Christmas. You're just trying to make it to this next holiday that you're going to be around your friends. You're going to have, this, that, and the other. And so I did want to do that consciously because I knew that there would be protests in this book. I knew that there would be more, I guess, tension against the powers that be in the system in this book. So that was definitely a conscious decision there.
I just remember thinking, I was like, yo, hold up. Like they were trying to get to the haven. Now they're like, nah, we're not down with it. And like, I love the fact that there were protests in this, and the fact that you also use like actual chants that people use in real life. And I believe at some point I had kind of likened the displacement of Black and brown witches in Astera, like in To A Star With Love and To Ilaris and Desperation, with like how Black and brown communities in reality are being displaced. And so I was able to, draw that parallel, and I was able to resonate with that. I think that's why I had so many feelings when reading this book. I was messaging you like, oh my God. I was like, I'm feeling it. I was really feeling it. And so I just know that when people pick up To Ilaris, they're going to be like, they're going to have the same feelings as I do and the same like reactions. I just know it. But back to witches and the magic system, okay? Because the magic system is not like any other that I've read before, or at least not that I remember reading. And it's pretty unique. So like, how did you come up with it? Like, what did the research process look like?
So I have a huge, like, multi-page Google Doc with all of my research in it. I started just by looking at different magic systems around the world, both kind of real, like Wicca and things like that, and also just other imagined magic systems from other kind of fiction. I really wanted to see what was out there. I feel like if you're trying to subvert a trope, you should really know what that trope is, or whatever that is that you're writing about. So I did all that research, and then I just decided, well, I wanted to make it elemental because I like elemental magic. And then I thought, well, what if, you have these elements that essentially are guiding people, and that's where they get their magic from. Why not, have, like, you're drawing on fire to get your power to control fire. So that's how it started. And I literally like wrote down all the powers I thought would be fun to have, even ones I made up, and then went through and assigned them and put them kind of in a table with all of the different elements. And that extended to the magic tattoos, which there are also magic tattoos in the series. That extended to those powers as well.
That sounds so intricate. That sounds like I had a whole table in Google Doc. I'm like, oh, well, I knew it would be complicated, but wow, to hear you say it, I'm like, okay, yeah, there was some real thought put into this. And then also, like, you know, in the first book, we were like, obviously there were witches, there was magic, but I feel like in the second book, you opened up the world even more, which like I was like, yes, more magic. There were new things that came up. I don't know if you want to mention them, but like some cool new magic came up in the second book, and I was like, all right, now we're getting in it. Now we're getting busy, you know. And I was just like, you know, it kept me going. It kept me like wanting to learn more and see if I can find like any new like magics as I went along, which was like you delivered on that, which I loved. And then I guess like my last question to you is if like the Witch Kind series was picked up by Netflix, who would be your dream cast? Like I just feel like everyone has like that Pinterest board of what they look like. So like who is your dream cast? We've got Mercury, Sloane, Alice, Joelle, Griffin, and my new favorite, Atlas.
Yes.
My favorite.
So let me just say firstly, so Atlas is Mercury's father. He is a bisexual tatted tattoo parlor owner. He's also on the Witches Council, and he's fun dad. He's that cool dad that I think everybody wishes they had, because he's not trying too hard. He just is, and he lives his life, and he's not only a dad, he has so much more to him. So that was so much fun writing him and his interactions with Mercury. He has some of the funniest lines, I think, in this book. He's just reading people down, and I loved writing all of that.
Atlas was all of us. I was like, oh, this is great to see like more of his personality. But yeah, who's your dream cast? Like you got a couple?
Yeah, I think so. I would say for Mercury, I've kind of had pictured Stephen James. He was in If Beale Street Could Talk, and in I think some other show with Julia Roberts. So I pictured him initially. Though now that Caleb McLaughlin from Stranger Things is getting older, I could see that as well, because it's like he'd be right around that age when this gets picked up. I kind of envision like Ciara Ramirez for Sloane. You know, I wanted somebody who's petite but also has that like unique kind of look. For Ellis, some white dude.
I think I put one of the like I pictured one of like the Cole is it Cole Sprouse?
Oh yeah, yeah. That's not bad. I think so. At the time, I was really watching a lot of Supernatural, and I'm not sure if you've seen the show, but the actor, I think his name is like Alexander Calvert, who played Jack in Supernatural. That's kind of who I was imagining as I was writing it. Randomly, I imagined SZA as Joelle, because I just liked her vibe and her softness, and the hair and the style is very Joelle to me. And then Jeremy Pope, I think is what his name is, for Griffin.
Okay.
Who's who I imagined him, and he is a queer man as well, and I wanted whoever plays Griffin to be queer, because Griffin is a queer character. And then for Atlas, I'm not sure. I mean, there's a little Billy Porter in there. There's a little like, you know, I don't know, just any kind of fun, like a little Anthony Anderson there. I don't know. It's kind of like a mix.
That's really cool. But yeah, those are my questions. All I can say is everybody go get the book. If you don't have To A Stare With Love, get it, and get To Ilaris and Desperation. You might as well just buy them both, because you won't want to put them down. So that's just my opinion.
Yes, if you like modern fantasy, social commentary, humor, black witches, vampire villains, content that has a little bit of a mixed media, because in both books there are individual articles that kind of do a lot of world building, then check out the series. And don't just get the books, get the Fifth House Collective book boxes with the books in them. Support your girls here. So now switching gears, let's talk about Fifth House Collective. So I'd love to know about your journey, about how you started, and you primarily support indie authors, right? And so
Right.
what was the decision behind that to specifically focus on indie authors versus trying to go the route of other book boxes where you're getting traditionally published books?
Yeah, so it was COVID. And all I had time to do was read books. Like that's all I did. It was work and reading, right? And I started stumbling upon, like, because I had Kindle Unlimited, there's a lot of like indie books on there. And I'm like, some of these are really good. And then I also started like around that time, stumbled upon book boxes. But like all the books I kind of wanted to read were in none of them. They were all like, the top, um, overly published, overly marketed, like, and usually the same like 10 authors. I swear, like, I'm not kidding. It's like the same 10 to 20 authors in every book box at the same time. And I'm like, I'm kind of tired of like the same, and they all have like the same kind of overarching storylines too, because when I guess when publishing sees something really popular, they keep trying to find books that are similar to that. And so you get like the same werewolf story, the same exact witch story. Like, it gets really tiring. And so I was like, I would like to see a book box with like some independent authors in there, people who don't get as much exposure, and they've put all of their money, heart, and soul and like their blood, sweat, and tears into their work and like actually packaging it. And I was like, those people, they deserve just as much as like traditionally published authors do. Not to say like traditionally published authors don't work hard, but to be honest, they're not doing the marketing for themselves. They're not doing all that. That's on like the publishing house. But with indies, it's like you're doing everything. You are everyone. And it's a lot. And I see you not, yeah. And so I was like, they deserve recognition. They deserve to be put in beautiful boxes with like really cool goodies. And like their stuff, I just wanted people to see what I saw, right? I wanted people to open a box and be like, this is cool. This book looks awesome. I never would have found it if, Fifth House Collective wasn't like, read this book, And so that's kind of like how it came about. We were looking around to see, like my partner and I, Darian, we were looking around to see if there were book boxes like this, like the one we started. And we were like, we just came short. We couldn't find any, especially ones that would do novels and comics and they were Black, And so we were like, let's do it. Let's just do it. If we don't see it, we need to make it. And so that's how Fifth House got started.
Yeah. I mean, I know that's right. The whole, making a way out of no way and just going and being the first of your kind, I think is so wonderful. And that's what drew me to Fifth House Collective. I think I saw that KRS McIntyre had been in your book box and that she had been excited, and I asked her about it, and she said it was such a positive experience, and that's what motivated me to reach out.
Yeah.
But in terms of your vetting process, so we have a comment here that sounds like an incredible initiative.
Oh, thank you.
Absolutely. So in terms of your decision to focus on, most of the books that I've seen come through in the box have been speculative fiction. So was that also a conscious decision to focus on speculative fiction over, widening the scope and focusing on all kind of indie content from Black authors, or is speculative fiction more of your preferred genre?
Yeah, I think we wanted to do all genres at first, but then we realized, because what we do at Fifth House, we read every single book that goes on our website. And to be honest, my business partner and I, we prefer like speculative fiction and horror and thrillers and whatnot over any other genre. So I think it just kind of naturally went that way. And so we were like, well, honestly, if we're not enjoying the book, we won't put it up there. I can objectively enjoy a book, whether like if it's speculative fiction or not, and be like, yeah, this is just a good book. But if I I just didn't enjoy any other genre. I think there was like two, three books that weren't like in our normal genre that I was like, yeah, they gotta go. It was like a what was it? It was a like a YA kind of just
Mm-hmm.
fiction. And then another one was like was a romance because it was, it was February, it was the time of love. So we were like, let's put a cute little, Valentine's Day type of box out. And I read the book and I was like, I like this because when I first started reading, I only read romance. People don't know this,
Mm.
but I was a huge fan of Danielle Steele. Like Danielle Steele,
She was
I
that
was
girl for you.
she was it. I was like 56 years old when I was 12. I was like, let me read Danielle Steele. And then I started reading like VC Andrews, which was like the creepier side, and that's when I started like heading into the darker places. Right?
Mm-hmm.
But I started out like your girl was a Steele fan. I still am, to be honest. But yeah, it was an unconscious decision. And then it just became like, okay, so now on, we're going to stick with speculative, science fiction, horror, thriller.
Mm-hmm. So, what has been the reception to Fifth House Collective, and what kind of feedback have you gotten? Like,
Mhm.
what's been your journey like since you started there? What's that been for you?
Yeah, it's been a very positive journey. We get a lot, especially from authors. They're always like, we're really happy you're doing this, that there's a box out there for us, and that there's a place for us, like in the book community. I don't know if people know, but like, I don't know why there's this weird stereotype where people don't read books, but we read. Okay, there's whole TikToks and YouTubes and Instagrams devoted just to reading, and like I'm pretty sure that publishing is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and not for nothing because everybody's reading,
Yeah.
right? Um, so yeah, it's been a pretty positive experience, especially on the author side. Like we've met so many cool people, so many cool comic artists. I'll go to like
Mhm.
the online virtual like events if I know like a comic artist we've worked with or have, will work with is there just to like go and support them. And on the other end, people who buy our boxes, they have nothing but nice things to say. They've always been like, we try to do like the smell good stuff because our boxes
Yeah.
are for grown-ups. Okay. I mean, they could be for teenagers too, but one of the things we were like, we don't like fillers. We want to put things in there that people are going to want to use
Yeah.
from the novel, from the comic to like just the stuffers. Like we like to do soaps and bath bombs and treats, tea, like everything in there needs to be usable. And so a lot of people have said that they really appreciate that because who needs another sticker? Honestly, like who needs another sticker?
Yeah.
Not to be
Yeah.
funny. Like,
I agree. So how long has Fifth House Collective been a thing? When did you officially start?
we officially started in August, like August 1st of 2020.
Okay,
Yeah,
August 1st, 2020.
2020.
So
Mhm.
you've been over a year.
Mhm.
In that time, what is something that you have been able to look back on thinking, okay, I wish I would have done this differently? Or what's something that you've looked back on like, this is so awesome, let's keep doing it?
Yeah, something I wish I would have done differently was get more grants in the beginning. This is not cheap, okay? This is a very expensive hobby. Everything we did, it was self-funded, and it was a lot of money, but like, I still felt good about it. I didn't really care about the money. I still don't. It's just I more care about getting the exposure out there, right?
Yeah.
Getting authors out there. It makes me feel like really warm inside. I do not care about the money though. But like something that I think we did that was like, yes, was last year's Halloween box. Like
Mhm.
I look back at that box and I'm like, how are we ever gonna top that box? That box. I was so proud of that box. It was such a good box. We had so many things in it and a
Mhm.
lot of people loved it. So we were like, let's try to do it again. It's October. It's mine and my business partner's favorite holiday. Yes, Halloween is a holiday. I don't care what
Yeah,
anybody
hey,
says.
it is mine. This is my favorite time of the year too. I look forward to it.
Yes.
You can't tell me nothing.
It is
Halloween
my
is the best.
Christmas. So, yeah. So like, yeah, we were like, let's do it again. We don't care. Let's get this box like rocking because it's October. It's our time.
Mhm.
So yeah, definitely that.
So what are your future goals for Fifth House Collective? What is,
Yeah.
if you could name one goal for Fifth House Collective for, I guess, the next year
Mhm.
or, couple years, what's your number one goal?
Brick and mortar bookstore with all
Mm.
indie authors, not just Black, but brown, all people of color, just like everybody who's indie. We want a bookstore like that here in Detroit. And then maybe, 10 years from now, world domination. But yeah, we don't want it to just be online. We want to definitely have a brick and mortar store. People can come in, get some coffee, and just like browse through all of the cool indie books out there.
I would love that. That is so wonderful. I think that'd be so cool to do.
It'd be
And y'all heard it here. You're heard it here first. So when you see it pop up, you'll know.
Mhm.
Manifesting right here, right
Yes.
on this live stream. So I guess my final question for you is, are there any tips or anything you would give to any indie authors who are watching this that are intrigued by what you're doing and want to know if their book might be considered? What tips would you give them? What's that process like?
Yeah. Okay. So we're actually kind of changing our process. We're going to make it more of an online bookstore with a
Mm-hmm.
like choose your own, like what you want to put into your book box people can do.
Okay.
So I feel like it'll open up a lot more. It won't be just like one author featured a month. We're still going to continue to like feature authors, but we hope to like have multiple authors a month with their books,
Mm-hmm.
just like online all the time. And then if people want to just buy that one book, they can. Or if they want to get like, the full package, they can. But I would say like if you want to be considered, just reach out. I mean, you can find us on like online. I can't even talk. Our email is, info at fifthhousecollective.com. Just shoot us an email. Promise we don't bite. We'll just ask you to send us, your work, whether it's like, the physical book or the ebook, and we just review it. But we're starting to just kind of open, the gates a bit more, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's all you really have to do is just get in contact with us. And then we'll follow up.
Nice. See, so it's simple, it's easy to do this if you are an indie author and you're looking to get more exposure for your book. It's been such a wonderful process for me. I've loved it, and I've just been so thankful and happy to have both my books, well, all my books, because you did a box with Girls of Might and Magic as well,
Yeah.
in the Fifth House Collective. So y'all heard it here first. And is there anything else you'd like to add before we wrap up today, Samara?
Yes, I do. Like right now, we have our Hexes and Howls book box out. It's our Halloween one where we're featuring Amanda's new book, To Ilaris and Desperation, as well as the comic called Diary of a Mad Black Werewolf by Micheline Hess.
So wonderful.
Let me show you guys really quick because I love the cover. First of all, I don't know if you can see that well, but it's such a fun, like, it's a really cool book, and it's like black and white. I'm just gonna do the real quick. There we go. Barely anybody saw that, but it's a really cool comic. I'm not even a big comic person, but the ones that like my partner brings into our business, I've got them all and I love them all. So maybe I am a comic person. Maybe I'm just but we've got that, and I wanted to give you guys a sneak peek of one of our like box stuffers, and that is this really cute, if you can see it, is kind of shiny.
Yes.
Taken out of package, but it's this like cauldron bath bomb. Like you literally just drop it in there and it bubbles up and makes a really cool like color and scent. And it's super, like, I love it. I mean, my skin's so soft, and I also have really sensitive skin. So I was really happy to like know that this will not tear you up.
It'll do right by you, everybody. So that is wonderful. So if y'all want to go ahead and get your October book box, you can go to fifthhousecollective.com, get your book box. You can also, I think, still get past months book boxes, right? So if people want to browse, they
Yeah,
can.
you can browse. The only book box that's available for this month, just because it's like special, is the Hexes and Howls book box. But we left the book bags up, so you can still get like any
Gotcha.
books you want. Yeah.
Gotcha. So just go browse. You'll probably see more than one thing that you want. I know that that's usually what happens to me. And when I'm on like bookstore sites, I just see so many things I want.
Mhm.
So go ahead and support a Black-owned, woman-owned business by going to Fifth House Collective. And not just for this month. I'm not just saying that for you to get my book, though that would be so wonderful. I'm saying that just in general. You won't be disappointed. They send out some really great goodies like you saw. So thank you so much, Samara, for taking some time to chat with me. I really enjoyed all of your questions. Definitely, I'll be thinking about how to recap my book in 15 words or less. You might just get a message from me in the middle of the night, like me going, I finally cracked it.
Did
I
it.
finally figured it out.
Yes, I always enjoy chatting with you, Amanda. This was awesome.
Yes, same here. And this will not be the last time we'll be chatting, so y'all stay tuned. You'll probably hear a lot more from Samara here on my channel. Or if you want to follow Samara and Fifth House Collective, where can they follow you on the socials?
Yeah, so on Instagram, we're at Fifth House Indie. Same thing with Facebook. And then, of course, on our website, www.fifthhousecollective.com. And that's pretty much it. We're pretty simple people.
Wonderful. And if y'all would like to follow me, I am Amanda, the author with two E's, like Megan the Stallion on Instagram and TikTok, and with one E on Twitter because Twitter has a character count. So thank you for tuning in, and to our future audience, thank you for watching it. And I hope y'all have a great rest of your evening. Bye.